Hello everyone, did you check out my new game? Look, it's right there! Well, I'll cut this short since the video compression probably ruined my intro anyway. Today we're talking subpixel rendering. Computers famously display images using pixels. They are the smallest element in a digital picture, but much like the atom used to be unsplittable, the pixel is also made of smaller elementary particles. On a modern display, a pixel isn't a physical multicolor LED, but rather three separate red, green and blue lights controlled to emulate a color when looked at from afar. You can actually see this if you take out your phone and zoom in on a monitor. You should see the individual RGB components. Now what if we control these three subpixels individually, not for color purposes, but for shapes? This is actually a technique that has existed for a long time for rendering fonts. And by the way, I don't like it. I understand the appeal of having crisp text and precise edges, but if I set the font color to black, I don't want a colored shimmer on the edges of my text, no sir. So let's put text rendering aside for a moment and use these subpixels for gaming. Let's say I'm making a very simple game, where you fall through an infinite well, dodging obstacles. The game is old school, very low resolution of 15 by 30, no color obviously, and the player is a single pixel. The map of the game is a 2D array of booleans, or rather a list of bool arrays, where each array is a line of pixels. At every turn of the game, we just remove the first line of pixels to shift everything upwards. This system allows me to draw individual patterns and sections in Paint as textures, import them into the game, and every time we need to pick the next section, we just have to pick a texture at random and convert it to a map of booleans. Using getPixel and setPixel for manipulating textures is quite inefficient according to Unity's documentation. However, we're at such a low resolution of 15 by 30 that this does not matter. Finally, I just have to add the position of the player and check whether lateral movement is allowed or if we are encountering obstacles. Reset the game when we crash into another white pixel and we're done. And now to render the game. So far, for debugging and illustration purposes, I've been converting my map of booleans back into a simple black and white texture, where one pixel is one tile of the game. But what we're aiming to do is to make a texture where every third column is red, green or blue, thus dividing our 15 pixels width by 3, making our game only 5 pixels wide. The game should look like this on my monitor, at least when looking closely enough. And to achieve this result, we need to group pixels 3 by 3 and consider individual columns to be the R, G and B components of the final color. It looks like this, which, unsurprisingly, is unplayable. But remember, it will look about like this when displayed on a physical monitor. So while this area looks closed off, in actuality there will be a teeny tiny subpixel space for the player to squeeze through. Let's build it and see how it goes. Who would have thought I would be in need of a low density monitor in 2025? My desktop computer has a 27 inches 1440p monitor, which is quite dense and makes it hard to make out the individual subpixels with the naked eye. That's 43 pixels per centimeter by the way, and we'll be using this unit from now on. My old laptop is 1080p for 16 inches, that's 55 ppcm, so it's out. My Steam Deck is only 720p, but it's such a small device, the density is actually twice as high as my desktop with 83 ppcm. Now my TV is 4K, and that's a lot of pixels, but it's a large 55 inches display clocking in at 31 ppcm, so that's a good candidate for playing our game. Wait, is that a dead pixel on my TV? Well, I guess I'll play on my desktop, because getting the game to play on the TV at native resolution is a hassle. It's sort of playable, although hard to see with the naked eye. It's way better to just watch it through my phone, which I'm using for recording this footage. Also, because blue is less bright than green, it's harder to see blue columns. What's missing to this game is a score. And for this, we just need to display a counter of how many turns you've survived next to the game. But how to display text? Well, in a similar way, we'll just consider each subpixel as a normal pixel and render text the normal way. Turns out, someone has had the same idea and made a font called Militext. You can check it out in the description. We don't need a full font though, so I'm manually drawing each digit and converting them into the subpixelated equivalent, again dividing their width by 3. Overall, successful proof of concept. The game is definitely very simple and easy to beat. And by beat, I mean you just have to not die as there is no end implemented. But that's a game design issue. Making the game more complex would however be quite a complicated subject, as no color means no enemies or pickups or stuff that would usually be color-coded, especially since the goal is to keep the game as tiny as possible. Every shape is 1 pixel in size, which would make it very hard to know what is what. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.